up, guys? Sorry, that countdown is entirely too long. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to streamline that. All right, as you can tell and as you've seen, the ADHD pod has been infiltrated. It is under new management for tonight. I'm contractually obligated to say the new name of the ADHD podcast is now Wrestling with or Main Event Bradley with ADHD and your host Bruce. So now, without further ado, I'm going to pop in my special esteemed guest, Main Event Bradley.
What's up, Bruce? What's up,
What's
everybody?
going on, man? What is up?
Man, I'm excited for this. I'm excited.
Heck yeah, I really appreciate you. You were one of the guys that reached out when I first talked about doing this. Actually, well, when I first actually said I was going to do it, because like honestly, I've talked about doing this for years. It's something that I wanted to do to kind of bring awareness. Because once you have ADHD, the shit doesn't go away. You just find ways, and of course, and everybody that I've talked to knows that you find ways to kind of cope with it and kind of I call it normal. It's almost like like a language, like almost like American Sign Language. It's like American Normal Language, where you're in a conversation and you don't just like say something silly or do something goofy just because you're just it just pops in your head. Uh, Common misconception about ADHD is that all of us are just super hyperactive and just bouncing off the walls. That's not always the case, and you can attest to that. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, man, like I said, everybody that's tuned in, that's watching, I don't have a very big viewership at the moment, but it's growing slowly as the word gets out. Um, so I'll be at points in this. I'll be popping up questions. The comment section. They give some questions, and I'll give one right here with our good buddy Mark. It'll just pop up right there. You'll be able to see it.
Good evening,
I'll,
Mark. How are you?
I'll leave it on there for a couple of seconds, and then I'll pop it away, and then we can kind of answer your question. There's another one. Hey, Mark. Two Marks. There can be
Of
only
course, there's
one.
two Marks watching this show right now.
Two Marks. I love it. I love it. All right. So without going too crazy, I've got a couple of questions. These are questions that were sent to me throughout the week. Once I posted the flyer and everything, and everybody kind of knew what was going on. Once I started really promoting it, these questions just kind of flooded in. And over the weekend, when I got home, I checked them all, and these are the main questions. So if you're cool, I'll just ask you some questions, and you can kind of give me your input. First of all, let me just I'm jumping ahead of myself. Go ahead and introduce yourself, just in case there's people that have never seen Main Event Bradley, which would probably be a shame.
Yes, that would be a shame because I'm goddamn good at what I do. I'm Main Event Bradley, and welcome to Main Event Bradley with ADHD and my man Bruce.
Awesome. So for those that don't know, Brad, I can call you Brad, right?
You can call me whatever you want.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll call you Brad. Had for years. Traveled all over the country, wrestling. Mexico, right?
Mexico never happened. It was going to,
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
then COVID happened, and then that
Yeah,
shut
yeah,
everything down.
dude. I'm telling you that happened to a lot of guys. It was almost overnight, like a flip of a switch. Like one minute your whole first half of the year is booked solid, and then then you're getting messages and phone calls like, "Hey, bro, everything's done. We're shutting down."
Man, I was me, Briar, and Mikey. We were in Arizona the
Hmm.
day that everything shut down. We were 2 hours away from the venue, and they was like, "Hey guys, we got to cancel the show."
Oh man, and that is
20 hours from home. And you know,
yeah, that is not a good place to be because if people watching don't know, if you're traveling that far, you're getting paid. If you're 2 hours from the show and they say, "Hey, no show," guess what? You're not getting paid.
our circumstances was kind of cool because they had the no fans show, and they
Oh,
still
okay.
paid us. So
Oh,
I mean,
sweet.
it was okay, but it wasn't, it wasn't the same as it would have been for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, yeah. I did one of those. I did one of those empty arena shows. It was they told me it was going to be filmed. I left, and then a couple of weeks later, still no video. So I think I got caught up in a customs situation where they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
they got cameras and everything." So we're like, "Oh, we're gonna put it online," and then that never happened. So somewhere there's a video of sexy Bruce floating around on the internet wrestling wrestling in an empty arena.
let's find it. There's all kinds of me and Briar. We did a handful of empty arena shows, and that man is I hated it. I hated
Oh,
everything
dude,
about it.
it's so tough, and I'm not trying to get too far into inside baseball, but man, there's something about a crowd that completely changes the whole game.
Yes, I agree. And when you put the wrestlers out there to, like kind of get you hot too, it's just not the same.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not the same
Well,
because then you're out there wrestling in front of your friends instead of wrestling in front of the people who are actually trying to, you're trying to make money, and the
yeah,
people who are
yeah.
spending their money that you're.
Oh yeah, and along those same lines, guys like us, people with ADHD in general, they need that. It's called dopamine. They need that feel good chemical that the brain releases, and wrestling gives that to us. But I think it has a lot to do with how like we're entertaining the fans, so we're feeding off them, and you've heard it for years. The wrestler feeds off the energy of the fans. Well, I mean, technically with us, that's 100% true.
Yes, a
You know,
hundred
it's it's not
percent.
a it's not a worked situation where the baby face or even the heel is like getting power from the crowd. Like we actually need that interaction and that energy that just oozes off of fans.
Yes, without the fans out there, man, we're just out there goofing off with our buddies.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, Mark just asked a good question. We'll get into these email questions. Main event, Bradley. Have you ever been booked in New York, and have you been booked in Canada?
Not Canada, but I did wrestle a show in New Jersey. So I mean, like it's not New York, but it's close enough.
Oh, technically, I mean it's like scratching the surface. It's like right there on the doohickey. Um, that's awesome. Okay, so let me get into these questions. So how did ADHD affect you growing up? Like first off,
Man,
when were you diagnosed, and like from that point, like how did it affect you, like learning curve wise and different things of that nature?
so I don't remember exactly how old I was, but my parents put me on ADHD medication. I don't remember what it
Mm-hmm.
was, but I didn't like it, so I just quit taking it. And they didn't,
Yeah,
they didn't force me to take it, so that's cool. But
yeah.
I didn't pay attention in school. I didn't. My grades weren't the greatest. I didn't pay attention in school. Uh, it just really. That's really it. It just I didn't care. All I cared about was watching wrestling. And I
Well,
guess
and
that's really
and
how.
and sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. That's just really how I coped with it. Was like the only thing I could stay focused on was Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Well, and that has a huge part to play, or that has a huge effect because like I said, that chemical that our brains, uh, the way it was explained to me was our brains are wired just a little bit differently than somebody without ADHD. They can they can people without ADHD, they can the dopamine that their bodies create is a normal amount, and their bodies can sustain that amount. But people with ADHD, they need a steady flow of ADHD, and uh, man, across the board, I don't care how many people I've talked to, everybody with ADHD, it's like school wasn't giving you that you would learn everything that you needed to learn, and then you were bored.
Yes.
It's like, what's the next thing? Give me something new. Give me something new to engage my brain.
Yes. Yeah, I feel that because like even, there would be times where I would, I didn't do my homework a lot, but when I did, I still wouldn't turn it in just because like my brain, I just wasn't focused on like, hey, I need to get this.
Yeah,
So
almost like it's done. It's in my bag, but deadlines. Screw those things. What are they?
yeah, yeah, yep, that's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, that's so crazy. I love I think what I love most about talking to people with ADHD and doing this is only the third episode, but at the same time, I've talked to so many people that want to come on and just had that person to person contact, and it feels really good to know that, man, you're not the only one out there that had the exact same thing going on. And I think a big part of the reason why I wanted to do this was because there is so many people out there that had ADHD as a kid, or didn't know they had ADHD as a kid, and everybody just treated them like they were stupid, or like they were broken, or like they were just, like, oh, go to the island of misfit toys where we don't have to deal with you.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just feel like, I just feel that urge to want to, look, I sometimes I play a bad guy, sometimes I play a good guy, but like on this thing, man, I just want to reach out and give a big digital hug to people and let them know that, you're not broken, you're not stupid. You know, there is something with our brains that is not, it's chemically different than, other people that don't have this problem, but you're just as normal as everybody else
As
is.
the next person, because if you think about it, nobody on this earth is normal. Everybody's got
No, no, yeah,
something.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Normal is a subjective word for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, Mark, absolutely. When wrestlers feed off me, it's like feeding off an energy drink with a Hogan's hulking up twist. Absolutely, that's what I love. I love that analogy because, growing up and watching Hogan in the ring, as soon as he got hit that one time, and you saw that finger point, you knew. And it made you get that much more hype. Like, oh shit, Hogan's about to mess you up.
Yep. Hogan. Once that, yep, the finger point happened, you knew the boot and the leg drop was coming next.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Second question. Being a professional wrestler with ADHD, how has having ADHD affected your wrestling career so far?
Oh man, you know how it is when, because just from experience from us working together, we're putting together a match and we could be, we need to get this planned out, but then something in our brain triggers and it's like, hey, did you see that this happened? And like boom, 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 our conversation is totally off of what needs to be conversating. So like that is something that really, it doesn't hinder me, but it like I notice that it affects me and I'm just like, like I really need to stay focused on this, but
Yeah,
for some reason I just can't. So like that's my biggest thing is putting matches together with people.
yeah. And having wrestled you well over 100 times, is spot remembering.
Yeah.
Match wise, I had this problem, and I actually, it was Jackie who pointed it out. He's like, bro, you're remembering everybody's spots in the match, and you're forgetting your own. Only worry about your own spots, because your what you're going to do is going to trigger somebody else to do what they're going to do. And again, not trying to give
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
any
No, I
trade
mean,
secrets or inside baseball, but that was my problem for years. And I have to catch myself and say, hey, uh why are you remembering everybody's thing that everybody is doing? You're forgetting your own thing.
Right. When when I'm doing when me and Brian was tag teaming, I would focus on the stuff that I was doing. Like if we were doing stuff together, that's still my stuff. But if it just involved him, I knew that I didn't have to be a part of it. So I'm not going to stress myself out even more trying to focus on remembering his stuff too.
Oh,
And he
bro,
would do
I
this.
was
He would do the same with me too. Like he would be like, "Bro, I've got my stuff. I can't remember yours too for you." So
yeah. Well, I was the complete opposite, and Jack he got a nickname over the years of tagging with Beer 30. We used to call him the director. Everybody that we wrestled, he had almost like a photographic memory where like if you said, "Hey, we're gonna do this, and this," in his brain it was this, and this. And I think that came from like his background in school sports and stuff. Because when you're playing at that level, and you played sports as well.
yeah,
One thing that I learned was stuff like wrestling where it's self-driven is the best for people with ADHD.
yes,
But team sports, it's not always the best because again, you're trying to worry about well, not everybody, but I mean, because every case is different, or every person is different. But with some cases, you're worried about what the guy on the opposite end of the line is doing, and you're not focused on what you should be doing.
yes, absolutely. Um, Playing sports in high school, man, that was hard too because all I wanted to do was wrestle. But here I am, I'm on the football field, and I'm talking to
Yeah,
my football coaches about, hey, did you see what happened on Monday Night Raw? Knowing that they didn't see it,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm just like, they's like, can you focus on some football? And I'm just like, man, John Cena's gonna be out here defending the title tonight, and
yeah.
so like that's man, my ADHD, I guess, is wrestling linked, I guess, to a way, but like that's just the
Well,
way I cope with it.
yeah, absolutely, and that leads me to my third question. So, what are some tricks that you've learned to kind of? I wrote down control it, but the question was not really control it, but I was trying to streamline the question to cope with it or have it work for you.
A lot of safety meetings before my matches because I feel like it just calms my nerves and it gets
No,
me
look,
chilled out, man.
A
So
a
like,
hundred,
and
a 100%, 100%. I'm the complete opposite. I can't have a safety brief before. Um, you know the story.
yeah,
Um, so now outside of wrestling, I've heard that a lot of people with ADHD are starting to kind of veer towards that treatment as a way to cope with it and to make it
yes,
better because
yes,
because in a lot of ways it focuses you.
because it really does because there's so many different things you could do, and it just like it could focus you, it could give you energy, it could give you an appetite, it could do all
Oh
kinds
yeah,
of good
for
stuff
sure,
for
for
you.
sure. Um, because without it, like I growing up, I took Ritalin, and I took it from like the second grade up to the ninth grade, and from the second grade to the ninth grade, I kept having to go up and up dosages because like I would hit like a plateau where my focus would just go away.
Yep,
Uh, I remember just one quick story. I remember I was in the third grade and I did something really really dumb. I went to Hoxie as well, and I can't even remember what I was doing, but I got in school suspension, and I was in a room by myself for a week, Monday through Friday, and I did all my homework in there, all my classwork in there. I ate lunch in there. I was completely separated from the entire school, and that week I didn't have any outside interference, so I could focus on what I needed to focus on. And there's a huge part of me that, like, at the time, I was like, "Oh, this is garbage. Why are you singling me out?" But then, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, maybe that's what I needed because there was just too much outside stimulus to be able to
yes,
focus on one
being
thing."
overstimulated, man, that
Yeah,
stuff, it's a real thing. I agree. because I got also put in ISS one time because of hit a kid with a chair.
Woo, wrestling.
So yeah, so I hit him with the chair, and I was in fourth grade too, so and they put me in the ISS, so it was just me, there with my blinders and a bunch of high schoolers that I wasn't going to talk to because I'm a fourth grade kid scared to death. So I just focused on my work. Like you said, I ate lunch in there too. Like, yeah, I agree. If they could figure out a way for kids these days that have ADHD to get one-on-one training with a teacher, I think it would help.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Because it's like I, I I was smart enough back then to kind of recognize that the teacher that was in there with me really didn't want to be in there. It was like,
Yep.
why do I got to sit with the broken kid? And I wasn't broken. I just I just couldn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Uh, so but yeah, you're right. Absolutely. If there was a way for teachers in general, and don't get me wrong, teachers they're an important part of the school because they're the ones that that teach younger generations things that need to be taught. But if there was a, I don't know, like I guess like a degree that you could get in just like single learning or single teaching, to where you focused on a more singular based curriculum. I think a lot of these kids that have been diagnosed and are undiagnosed would probably feel a little bit normal instead of feeling like they're just some piece of crap that doesn't
Yeah.
want to learn.
I agree. I agree 100%.
So all good things. So next one, what are some of the positives and negatives with wrestling with ADHD? I know these we probably addressed some of these in the first couple of questions, but if there's any extras that we can.
So I feel like some positives, because there is positives to it for real. Because like you know, because like if you do finally get focused, you just focus on that one thing. So
Yeah,
once you get focused on that one thing, and you just think about it, and then like you said, well, you get it pictured in your head how it's going to go, and then it starts happening that way. It's a very good feeling for you because the fans are loving what you're doing. But I've also noticed that with my 7 years ago, I would not have said this, but now I'm getting to a point where I'm in the ring, and if the crowd isn't digging it, instead of getting frustrated and mad and letting my emotions take over, I calm down and let's talk for a second to whoever I'm in there with, and let's see what happens. Because
yeah.
you got to maintain your composure, and I feel like ADHD, you know, you focus on one thing, and then that thing goes wrong. Now
Oh
you're in
yeah,
a fluster, and you can't really control your emotions. So you can ask Briar, you can ask Mikey, you can ask a lot of people. You've seen it too. I'm a hothead sometimes if stuff doesn't go exactly the way I think it should, and then like that's
yeah,
just
and that's the thing. It's like two ends of the spectrum, and sometimes if you can kind of, you don't have to get them right dead center, but if they get close enough to center
yep.
that you can,
Then
you're just like, oh shit, that's good stuff. That's the spot.
yep.
That's the sweet spot.
That's what I
Uh,
wanted. But if it goes
yeah,
too far this way, you're just like,
yeah, yeah. And
And I
one thing, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, one thing that I've noticed is me in general. I've got a bunch of little different hobbies, and I paint. It's a way for me to kind of get some emotions out of my head and get them on something, so I can kind of face them better. It's one of the coping mechanisms that I came up with, or was taught to me. Um, but I've got several different projects, so to speak, that I focus on, and if I'm on one for too long, it's not giving me the engagement that I need. Man, I'll put it down, and like it may be a couple of hours, it may be a couple of minutes, it may be a couple of weeks. Then I pick it back up, like, oh yeah, there it is. I'm gonna do that thing. And also, it's a mild form of depression. Like when you find something like wrestling in general, like wrestling. Well, let's just use that for an example. Um, I love the good parts about wrestling. I love the bad parts, the highs and the lows, because to be a professional wrestler, you got to love the whole thing.
Yep.
Um, Sometimes it's not really a boredom, but it's a I have that one match, or I have that one show where I have to fall in love with wrestling again.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
burnout.
yeah, yeah, and so let go into the a side thing, like with my projects, my hobbies. Once that thing that I was really enjoying doesn't give me the same pleasure that it gave me before, I almost fall into like a funk. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I
I,
I
I
I,
would
I feel you.
I would call it a depression, because you're like, man, I really love doing that thing, and now
I
I don't
don't
know
even
what
want to look at it.
I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
I have a painting that hangs on my wall. Uh, there's actually there's actually 5 to 6 paintings on it. So what I would do is the first painting, I remember it vividly. I painted this cool. I like clowns, so I painted this cool clown, and I got it almost done. And then before I even realized I was doing it, man, I painted the whole thing black, and I started completely over. And I didn't,
Oh.
I didn't, I didn't clean anything off. Man, it took me like 3 hours. Not the full 3 hours. I did it in like increments. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
paint a little bit here and then do a little bit there. But as soon as I was done, I just remember, like, man, I was on a blank slate again, and I was like, man, why did I do that? And then I was like, okay, well, I'll paint this on it. And then that one, when the second painting, it hung on my wall for a little bit, and I just got tired of looking at it, so I took it down and I put it on my easel and I painted something over it. And I keep that. My wife is like, why don't you just throw that thing away and start again? And I'm like, no, it's a reminder that, something that you love doing, it's going to make you mad. It's going to make you want to, completely stop doing the
Yes.
doing the
Have days
thing.
where I don't ever want to do this again because I have those
Yeah,
thoughts. Everybody does. It's just something that happens. And
yeah,
you're like
yeah.
you said, you have that one thing. Like if you got that painting looking just right, you'd be like, that's perfect.
Hmm.
And like there's like with wrestlers, it's that one match or that one promo where they get out there and they feel it and they're like, yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, man, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you.
And one thing that I've got, and I don't know if you have it too, but uh, almost crippling self doubt.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes yes.
Sometimes, I'm not saying it's an everyday thing, because like you said, you have that one match or that one promo or that one show that you're on, and all cylinders are firing and everything is just going smooth. You get done with the night and you're like, holy shit, yes, this is why I wrestle.
Yep, yep.
Uh, but then, those in between times, that's when you're like, man, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the
It's
am I making a
is this
dent
the
in
right
it? Am I
decision? Like, should I be doing this? Or, man, I wish I
Yeah.
could be home with my kids instead of out here on the road.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of stuff like that.
Well, and I've been wrestling for about 14 years, and I have those times where I everything is firing on all cylinders, everything's going good, and then something happens and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna take some time off traveling. I'm gonna stay in one spot. Um, and I'm gonna try to make this spot the best spot it can be.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put all my energy into making this happen. And and then, after a while, it's not necessarily a boredom, but it's like, okay, I've done everything I can do. Okay, I'm ready to feel that. I'm ready to feel that rush of the road again, or I'm ready to feel that anticipation or that excitement of going to a show I've never been to, and
Yep.
performing my craft in front of some people who didn't even know I existed.
Yep.
Um,
I'm at the stage right now where, like you just said, I want to be in one spot, two spots, and give all
yeah,
of my
yeah,
energy to those two places. And that's why you don't see me out everywhere. It's not because I can't get booked. It's because right at
Yeah,
this moment, I don't feel like it's in my cards to be wrestling in a different city every weekend because my kids are getting older. I don't,
yeah,
like that's the main thing is I want to be home more. So I do
yeah.
what I do.
Well, and I feel like some people that don't know how our brains work. Uh, I'm not sure, and I don't know this 100%. This is just something that kind of popped into my head. I feel like some people think, oh well, he maybe he had a bad night, on the road, or maybe the bookings just dried up for him, and those one or two spots is the only place that he can work. And I don't, I'm not one of those guys that cares if people think that. It's not a
No,
big deal to me.
nope,
Uh,
me neither. It
but
used
I
to be.
want. Oh yeah, same here. Oh yeah, it used to be, man. Uh, I would almost make myself mad by imagining that people thought that, and no, not one person ever thought that, but it was in my head, and I had that voice saying, "Hey, bro, everybody thinks you fell off."
And even if the people do think you fell off, fuck them because their opinion doesn't matter anyway.
Right, right. Um, and I've never been really the guy to toot my own horn, or be like, oh, look at this great thing that I've done. I try to let my actions speak for me. I let my body of work do the talking, because I just can't stand those people that are like that. They're like, oh, look at me, I did this, I did that. Like, hey, bro, that's
Yeah.
cool. I'm that's awesome, man. If you've got the means and the ability to do that, go out and do your thing.
When I'm
Um,
with my friends, I'll joke around back. Haha, you see who I just
yeah,
wrestled? Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But if I'm just with some, I don't go around to be like, oh, I wrestled this guy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just because, like, who cares?
yeah, yeah. That's in my mind. That's a list that I like to look at.
Because it's
But yeah,
self-satisfying for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got a well, I mean, I've got a poster of Gangrel on my wall, and signed by him. That means a shit ton to me. But I would never post it on Facebook or any
Right.
social
I
media and be
have
like, look
here
what I
in my
did.
house. Here in my house, I have Tommy Dreamer's ECW, like first run of ECW action figures.
Oh wow.
I have that, and I didn't even bring it to him to sign it because I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a whole culture out there that's like, don't take the pictures. That was big. That was big a couple of
Yeah.
months back. Uh, I Dude, I take the pictures. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a mark. I love it,
So
but
for me,
I don't take them to put them out there. It's just for
it's
me.
for you. Yeah. So for me, I will take pictures, but not with everybody. If I take a picture with somebody, it's because I loved you when I was a kid, or you have affected me as a wrestler growing up in the business. Because so like I want to give my respects to the people I feel like have earned my respects like through the stuff that they've done. And not
Yeah,
saying that every like all the big people haven't because everybody who steps in the ring deserves that respect. But there's just certain people who I'm like, man, you affected me some way, so I would really like this for myself. Like you said, not to
yeah.
post anywhere, not to do nothing, just to have it for myself.
Well, yeah, because they're these guys, and I'm sure that there are kids that are living in Arkansas right now that consider you and consider me and guys that we work with as building blocks of who they are.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy to think about,
Yeah, yeah,
honestly,
it's
because
nuts.
I feel like I'm still just a kid myself in the wrestling business because like it's wild because I've been doing this for 9 years now, and like it doesn't feel that way. And I bet to a lot of the people who have watched me come up, man, it doesn't feel like Brad's been around for 9 years, but man, I have, and I've worked hard. And if people do look up to me, reach out. And if you have questions, if you want to be a wrestler, reach out. If you have questions, I'll try and help you the best I can because that's what we're here
Absolutely.
for. We're here to make everybody better.
Right. I'm a big supporter and a proponent of the wrestling world is a huge place. Uh, Everybody, there's room at the table for everyone, and everybody can have something to eat. Um,
Yep.
which is super cool that this conversation just kind of just kind of oozed into this, not in a bad way. My fifth question: uh, what is something you'd say to a kid that's maybe just been diagnosed with ADHD, um, that is watching this right now and may say, I'm these two guys. Where were these guys? Where were these guys years ago? Or where were these guys when I thought I was I keep saying this, but where were these guys when I thought I was just a broken toy that nobody
Right.
wanted to play with?
Man, honestly, I would tell them don't let it affect you, because just because you have it doesn't mean you're a freak. It doesn't mean you're weird. It just means, like you said, you have trouble focusing on certain things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all, because everybody's different. There's no normal. There's nothing. So just do you, and don't let other people's opinions affect it.
Absolutely, that's good stuff. So let me go into the questions here a little bit. Gunnar Grayson asks, as a young guy, only a year in, I deal with both ADHD but also Asperger's autism. I am antisocial. How do I get around that? I have a hard time expressing myself and taking my spots, and also trying to explain what I want to do.
Good question. So I know it's scary, but the best way is to just pitch your ideas, and if they tell you no or whatever, don't take it personal, because that same person has been told no before, and if they tell you no, it's not no forever. It's a no that doesn't make sense for this moment. So always voice your opinion if you have ideas, because you might have a good idea that somebody be like, "That's good," and then they start thinking about your idea, and they'd be like, "But this is how we could improve it." So always, even if you're scared, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Just gotta speak your opinion, because you that's the
Absolutely.
only way you're gonna get noticed.
I tell guys a lot, when they're starting out wrestling, get a notebook and a pen and write your ideas down and keep it in your wrestling bag, because honestly, there may be a time where you're in the locker room and somebody says, "Holy shit, the thing that we thought we were going to do fell through. We need an idea and we need one right now." And
Yeah,
that could
and
be your idea.
yeah, and forget the notebook and pen. It's 2023. Put that in your notepad on your phone,
Okay, I'm a
and
little
then
bit
you can
older.
just
I'm a little bit older. So, so the second part of that, being antisocial, I completely understand that. I have a hard time. Um, I'm a people pleaser. I want to make people happy, because making people happy makes me happy. It gives me the juice that I need, to feel like I'm doing a good job. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a gold star. Uh, and so I want to collect them gold stars. So anybody listening that has some, pass them my way. Give some to Brad too.
yeah, give me all of them.
Uh, the thing about being antisocial is, and especially in wrestling, because wrestling is such a social environment. Um, I know it sounds hard, but you have to just put yourself out there. You have to just rip the band-aid off, and you have to just dive headlong into it. Um, we're told as wrestlers when we're first starting, like, you got to have thick skin, because you're going to have people that are going to down you. You're going to have people that are going to yell at you. I know coming up, I had so many people in my corner, but they were yelling at me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
So
yep.
it was difficult to have a guy that you look up to and respect, uh, tear you a
Telling
new
you
one.
that you suck and you
No,
need to
you
quit the
suck.
fucking
Yeah,
business. Yeah,
yeah.
dude, that's
Uh,
tough, because
uh,
they don't mean that you need to quit. They're just telling
no,
you,
no,
hey,
no.
this is what you need to do.
I had a
Like,
guy. I had a guy tell me one time. He's like, "Hey, that thing that you did out there, don't ever do it again." And I'm thinking, okay, well, I did all this stuff. Which one? And he said, "Oh, from the time that your music played until the time that you walked back to the back, that whole thing in between, don't do that thing." And I'm like, oh wow. How do I how do I how do I fit that in?
right.
Um, but yeah, you just have to, man. You just have to go for it and realize that. And it took me some realizing that uh, somebody that tells you that you suck and that you should get out of the business doesn't really mean that you suck and that you should get out of the business.
No, they
You
tell you
you
that. They tell you that because that's what they got told by people before them,
yeah
and
yeah
that's just the way they learned, and they had learned how to fix it. And then once you fix it, they'll start giving you your compliments on, hey, I see what you're doing, and I see you improving. So
yeah
whatever you do, don't give up, and just keep grinding, and try not to let it affect you, because you never know how many of the other guys you're talking to are going to have the same issues you're dealing with.
yeah absolutely. DJ DJ Clown. DJing is really weird because I'm at a social function, but I'm usually completely alone all night while everyone else has a good time. Yeah, man, that's
I've never
uh
actually thought about that, clown. That's wow. What
yeah,
a
that's
wow.
deep stuff. Um so I guess I have a question from that clown. Also another good point. Nobody really cares until you mess up. So
That's facts too.
do you get that clown? Do you get that juice, that brain juice flowing from seeing other people be entertained? Because I mean, you're a hell of a DJ, man. You're super entertaining. You definitely know your stuff. So like, is it the same with wrestling? Because I know me, if I see that people are entertained, I'm gonna want to keep doing the thing that's entertaining them.
Yes.
Um,
Good question, Bruce.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe he'll get back with me. Uh, Real quick, Mark. Oh yes, okay, there it is. Of course, I do. Yes, 100%. Good, good. Because I mean, dude, when you said that, I was like, oh man, I like Clown. I consider him a friend, and I don't want him to feel all alone.
Right.
Because when you're up there spinning spinning your records and DJing, dude, I feel like you're right there with me. You know, if I'm in the ring and I feel like I'm right beside you, you know, bumping along to the beat, and I feel like you being a part of the show means you're right there beside me when I'm in the ring doing what I'm doing.
Clown is the best DJ around. I'm
Oh
just gonna
yeah,
say it.
absolutely. Yeah, I'll 100% endorse that. I've seen him at several shows or been on several shows with
Several
him,
shows. Several
and
shows.
it is just phenomenal. And again, I don't know many DJs, but I'm
Mm,
glad I know Clown.
yes, me too. He's the man.
So yeah, that was all the questions. I'm looking through the questions here from Facebook. Like Mark a little while ago, he we were talking about, you know, taking the pictures. Um, I'm not sure if I should charge Virgil's high price. I'll take pictures with talent I know and enjoy. Absolutely, Mark. It's like I said, you know, I understand that there's probably kids that have watched me and Brad and several other guys wrestling and found something or saw something good, whether we're playing, you know, we're cast as a heel or we're working as a face, working. Um, that they like. You know what I'm saying? That they're like, oh
Yeah,
man,
because
that was super cool. I have a having ADHD. I have a bad habit of getting lost in a match. If I'm in the match, I'm in the moment and I'm doing the thing, but I'm also really super impressed with the guy that I'm wrestling or with the guy that I'm in the ring with in a tag match. I did it several times working you guys. Where like Jack would be in the ring with you, or Jack would be in the ring with Briar, and I'd just be sitting in the corner waiting for the tag and just being like, oh my god, I'm wrestling with Brad and Briar. And look what Brad just did. Oh my gosh, that's super athletic and super cool. And so like whether I was a face or a heel in that scenario, I would have to I would have to like use all of my mental capacity to not like cheer for you, or
Yes.
if the crowd was cheering or booing, I would have to not join the crowd because I was sitting there, but I had front row seats to some awesome stuff.
Man, when me and Bro were tagging, like you said, being on the apron, I'd just be there watching, and I see some of the most wild stuff that they're doing in there, and I'm just like, oh man, I can't react to that, but that shit was so fucking fire just then. Yeah,
Yes.
I've been there, dude. I've been there.
I would, and I still do it today. Like I'm a fiend for the playback. Like as soon as the video comes out, or as soon as someone posts it, dude, I just go back and watch, and then I get to feel those emotions that I felt before, because you can't. I don't know if you can be a professional like wrestler and not be a fan of wrestling in general. I've never met anybody in my career that's ever said, I completely hate wrestling. I just do it because I'm good at it.
Yeah, I agree. I've never met somebody. I've met people who say they didn't watch it growing up, but when they started
Mm.
watching it, they loved it. And I've never met somebody who does it who says I hate this. I have, but I know they don't mean it.
Yeah, yeah, because you have those
Because
nights
I
where
say I hate doing this, but I really don't. I really don't.
the end of a grueling match, you're taking your gear off, or at the end of the night, you're like, man, why do we do this?
Why do I put on
You
this spandex?
you take a bump wrong and you limp back to the back, and then that's when you really the selling starts, when the adrenaline dies, because then you're like, shit, I blew out my ACL a couple of years ago, and like leading up to that, I'd get done with a match, and like the way me and Jack were wrestling at the time, it was just high octane. It was multiple shows a week, and
Yep.
the schedule was just hectic. And I don't have to tell you anything about schedules, because you had a for in Arkansas at one time, you had one of the heaviest schedules around.
Man, there for a long time, I'd say a good year to 2 years. It was more than a year and a half to 2 years. Me and Briar and Mikey were wrestling everywhere. We hit a good 25 states in like 9 months. It was
Yeah,
fucking
that's
crazy.
and that's a wild schedule. Like, and I thought my schedule was wild, but like I said, at one point you guys were at the top of the list for crazy wrestling schedules.
We were doing
So
so much stuff wrestling we couldn't, and we just wasn't wrestling here in Arkansas.
yeah, yeah,
Because we not that we didn't want to, it's just that we didn't have the
yeah,
time to
yeah,
fit it
yeah.
into our schedule.
Oh, for sure. Well, when we were running SECW, we were doing that on Friday nights, and then we would hit like two shows on Saturday, and if we could swing it, if we hit a loop just right, we could hit a show on Sunday as well. So,
Yep,
4 or 5 times in a weekend, it's just like, oh my gosh. And if
yep.
work schedule allowed, we could make one during the week, but that was very rare. But like I was
Doing
saying, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. I was just gonna say
Oh,
doing weekday shows are just fucking a whole different thing in their own.
Oh yeah, dude. It's almost like a completely like a side mission.
Yeah, for real.
Uh, so like with my knee, like I tore my MCL, and I was off for 2 months, and then they gave me a brace, an ACL brace, because I had a partial tear in my ACL, and they told me, hey, your ACL is going to tear eventually. So I wrestled for 3 solid years on borrowed time until my ACL tore the rest of the way. It was then that I really was like, okay, I'm gonna have to dial it back some, because the schedule that we were keeping, dude, I would get back to the back, and I would literally like almost be in tears taking off my knee stuff and my gear, because like there's no downtime, so there's no time to really heal.
Yep,
And it was one of those times where, and to circle back around, it was one of those times where I was like, man, why do I do this?
yep.
But it's really because of the love for the business, and the love for the entertainment and the physicality of it.
Man, yes. Because speaking of the physicality, this just popped in my head because ADHD.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
uh, People who I went to school with all the time, they're like, man, I miss the old days when we was playing football and this and that. Do you not miss playing football? I'm like, no, I really don't. Well, why? And I was like, well, because I replaced football with something that I actually love doing, and I'm still being physical, like I would be in a football game. It's just in a different way and a lot more physical than a football game, in my opinion.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Uh, and I tell people this all the time. That like where I work at, when they found out I was a wrestler, they were like, "Oh, you so you play fight?" Like, no, bud. Uh,
Yeah.
there's definitely it is a sport. There's definitely a physicality to it, and
Yes, for sure.
I would almost stack it next to any professionally played sport, like any mainstream sport, and I would say that it would stack up very well,
I agree.
because
I agree.
because like, don't get me wrong, like a football game, it could last anywhere from, like, you played football. How long would a normal football game last? Let's say on the high school level.
On a high school level, I'd say anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay, so but that, like, on the field time and sitting on the or on the sideline time waiting, it is really it's downtime because you're sitting there watching, you're waiting for your chance to go in.
Yep.
Uh, for that play, that's when you have to be physical. That's when you have to exert your max effort in physicality for football.
Yep.
But then you have, and it's highs and lows. You have that high of physicality when you're on the field and you're on that play, and sometimes you're getting down to the wire, and then it's just back to back to back plays. But then again, let's say you're on defense and it's offense's turn. They could be on offense for any number of any amount of time, really.
Yep.
Back and forth on the field. So you're sitting there on the sidelines just waiting for D to go in.
Yep. Yep. And
But
when
with
you're in the
professional,
ring,
yeah,
you don't you have some downtime, but it's not like that because your downtime, you're still exerting your energy selling or, actually being hurt. Like, cause like that shit doesn't feel
no,
fake like a
no,
lot of people
no,
think it does.
no, not at all. I would say, and the reason I would say that it stacked up almost shoulder to shoulder with any professionally played sport is because the downtime that they have is different for us. A
Yes.
10 to 15 minute match, that is all of that physicality on the field in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yes. And
Uh,
yeah, absolutely.
I ran across an article probably 3 or 4 years in the business. I read it online, and it said that the average bump that you take in the ring, the average fall, is equal to a 60-mile-an-hour car wreck.
Yeah. And that's
So
that's just think about that.
that's the physical exertion that your body is being put through. And they used to say, I don't really believe in it much anymore, but the old hats used to talk about a bump counter.
I
That
believe in the bump counter. I really do. Because the older I get, the more and more those bumps hurt, and the more I know I'm not going to be able to take them forever. So,
Well, okay, so, like, okay, I say I don't necessarily believe it anymore, but I do agree. I'm 40 years old. I turned 40 June 29th. Uh, I can tell. I started when I was 26. Joined the Marine Corps at 18 after high school, and then got out when I was 26. Started wrestling, and I could definitely tell a marked difference from 26 to 40 in the amount of time it takes my body to bounce back.
I was just
So
having
it's
this I was having this conversation with Neil Taylor at the TV tapings on Sunday.
yeah,
And I was saying, man, I'm 27 now. I just turned 27. And I'm like, I started training when I was 16. I could go hop off a ladder and be fine 10 seconds later. But now I can't even take a shoulder tackle and be fine. So I'm just like,
you can, okay, so it's definitely is a real thing. I don't know if I would necessarily call it a bump counter because I'm not
yeah,
keeping tally of every single bump, but
yeah.
at the same time, just using that word bump counter, I could definitely tell that the bumps that I take now, when I was 26, man, I could bump all day. I could do it 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. If I was as good as I was then as I am now, dude, I probably could have a schedule of like a WWE performer or an AEW performer and still
Yeah,
be okay. And still be
yeah,
okay. But now, like before I would take a bump. Let's say early in my career, I could take a bump on Saturday, and by Monday or Tuesday, man, I was good again. Now, if I take a bump and I take it wrong, man, it's Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday, or I'm just healing up as I'm getting to the show.
Yes, and then you got to go mess yourself up again. I've noticed it's my shoulders and my lower back really that take the
Yeah.
most beating.
Um, but yeah, really, really early in my career, I wasn't as good on my knees as I should have been.
Yeah,
There was times where I didn't wrestle with knee pads because I thought they got in the way. But now I tell
Bruce,
guys, I
wear
know, I
those
know,
fucking knee pads.
I know. I tell guys all the time. I tell guys all the time, like younger guys that I'm training, they're like, "Oh, I'll just train in knee without any knee pads." I'm like, "No, no,
Put
don't."
them bitches on.
The God only gave you two knees. You don't get any more after that. You get some repaired ones, but they're still your broken ass knees.
Yes.
uh,
I tell Draco, I'm like, man, I wish you just put on some knee pads, dude.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I know in the long run, if he does, he will thank me later.
Ty. Yeah. I know that doesn't sound so good. I wasn't as good on my knees. Well, wrestling is you toe a fine line between appropriate and inappropriate conversations. Gosh, I let the comments go telling stories. Let's see here. Let's see here. Clown. The Wrestle Center is really different though because it's so close quarters and the vibe really is really cool there. Absolutely. I have been to a few shows where the sound is right there in the crowd, and it's that way they can kind of vibe with the crowd and get that feeling.
Yeah.
But no, I 100% agree. Memphis Wrestling is by far they've got it. The guys in charge there, they know exactly what they're doing, and they know from experience and from other shows throughout the area what works and what doesn't. And I think they've honed in on what works.
I do too. And I'm very thankful to be a part of what we're doing here because, to be honest, they don't have to book us.
No, no, absolutely not.
And I'm
And
very, very appreciative of the position that I'm in with Memphis Wrestling and the Wrestle Center. So I love everything about it.
yes, absolutely. I tell people all the time, like if they catch a match, because I try to share all the shows and everything that's involved with Memphis, because to me it's a huge honor to be there.
Yes.
Growing up watching wrestling, I caught around here growing up in Arkansas, Channel 5 was the spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Every Saturday it was like Saturday morning cartoons,
Yep.
and
And now the fact that we're coming back to Channel 5, bro, that is what's
yes,
cool.
yes, a huge hiatus, but it is good to be coming back to Channel 5. Um, I'm super excited, and I knew, like, I have a bunch of people that are like, oh my gosh, it's so super cool. You're able to wrestle at Memphis and be a part of just the whole experience. And I'm like, honestly, that sentiment is not lost on me at all. And it's
Yes.
one thing that I know from talking to everybody at Memphis, it's not lost on them either. We're all super super thankful to be there and be in the positions that we are and able to perform and entertain. Um, I would almost say on the same level that Memphis Wrestling used to perform at.
Yes, I would too because it's not the same style of wrestling. It's a more modern day wrestling, but that's okay because our wrestlers are just as good as the ones back then. They're not as big of a personality, but in the ring, the wrestlers at modern day Memphis wrestling, I don't think can be touched. I think it's a solid roster compared to any roster out there.
Absolutely,
Memphis
absolutely.
wrestling has it, and the Wrestle Center, like Clown said, is a spectacular place to have wrestling. It's a good venue. The crowd is always there. Like
Oh
everything
yeah,
about
dude.
it.
I have spoke nothing but high praise about Memphis wrestling top to bottom. It's the whole experience. The one thing, I mean, and all of us, everybody wrestling around these parts. I think the only thing that we're missing is the Coliseum. But in my opinion, the Wrestle Center is, it's our Coliseum.
Yes, it is. And who knows? Maybe one day, eventually, we could maybe do the Coliseum. It just depends on what happens with that building.
Yeah, that's that.
And
I agree.
I have full confidence in our roster that if we did book the Mid South Coliseum, we would sell it
Oh,
out.
absolutely, absolutely. I don't doubt that at all. Clown says he wishes Draco would wear boots. Uh,
I can get past him not wearing boots. It's just the knee pads, man.
yeah, I see guys that don't wear knee pads, and I'm like, oh, after being a recipient of ACL replacement surgery, I fully endorse knee pads, and for those that don't wear them, I'm like, guys,
Put
do me
those
one
on.
do me one favor and just put those dang knee pads on.
You'll thank me in the long run. I promise you
Yes,
will.
absolutely, absolutely. Uh, some people call me the old man of the old man of wrestling in Arkansas, and I'm like, well, that may be. I may be a crotchety old man. I may be opinionated, but I've lived through some stuff, and I've got some experience doing some things. And that's what I'm trying to impart to the younger crowd, or the younger audience, or the younger wrestler, not necessarily younger audience. Um, just learn from my mistakes so you don't make them.
Yep, that's good advice right there.
So
That really is.
yeah, yeah, man, this has been great. Um, I've known you. I've known you your entire wrestling career, and
Shoot, yeah, you met me day two of
I've
my training.
yes, sir. So being a fan of all wrestlers, I have followed your career and your brother's career, and man, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have done some amazing things, from where you started to where you're at right now. Um, just all around great stuff.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it because
You're welcome. Absolutely.
me and Brad both have worked hard, even though he don't wrestle anymore. We both worked hard at this,
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah, you
for
could you
people
could
to give us
definitely
the
tell.
credit, for people to give us the credit that we worked hard for, I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the grind is not, the grind is not missed on me. You could tell, you can see it. Um, you could, I would be on the road driving, and I would be watching y'all's videos and what y'all guys were doing and where y'all guys were going. And I know that I tell people this all the time, man. I'm a super huge fan of everybody that I wrestle with, and they're like, "Oh man, that's weird. You're like a weird unicorn," because it seems like everybody that I've ever met has only been concerned with what they're doing, and my whole thing is like, again, there's room at the wrestling table for everybody to sit, and there's plenty enough to go food to go around to eat.
Well, yes and no, but yes.
Uh, no, okay, don't get me wrong. There's some guys that I'm just like, meh. Have a good day, sir. But then there's other guys where I'm just in awe of
Yes,
the things
yeah,
that they're
yeah, yeah.
doing. I feel like I'm the type of guy that if one of us succeeds, we all succeed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, if
So
one of
if
my friends is eating, we're all gonna eat because that's just how it is.
yes,
It's how it's always been.
yeah, and I think and I was actually talking to a, a Memphis wrestling talent Sunday. And I told him, I said, man, if there were, because we were having this conversation, and I was telling him that you were going to be on tonight, and I was like, man, if there were more people that had that mentality, dude, wrestling would be on top again. But I feel like, and this is just me personally, I feel like once the territories died, it all became about me, and
Yep.
not about putting over the next guy, or some traditions stayed because they're just that sunk that deep. But I feel like, even when the territories were happening, everybody in that territory was working to make the next company better. And then your top guy would go to another territory, and then that territory would do the same thing. And there might have been some backdoor stuff, that some maybe backbiting here and there, but it
Yep.
wasn't. Talking to the
It
older
is.
guys that survived, that went through that era. It's just it was a different world.
Yeah. It. Yeah. From what I've heard, I agree. It's a different world from what it is today. But that's
Well,
also it's a good thing too because
yeah, well, yeah,
changing everything.
I can't deny that.
Not
Um,
all of the changes in wrestling have been for good, but some of them have been, and you have to acknowledge that not all of
yeah,
modern wrestling is the shitty ass, just stuff that don't make sense, because like you said, you can do whatever you want just as long as it fits the wrestling mold somehow.
yeah. Well, and we talked about this on the SDU pod a couple of episodes ago. Um, Wrestling is like ice cream. There's many different flavors, just like there's many different styles. There's deathmatch crowds, and there's traditional, technical wrestling crowds, super indie crowds. There's all
Your
different. There's
WWE crowd, because that is a certain style in itself too.
it is. If either one of us signed a contract with WWE right now, we would be taught their style, and we would have to wrestle their style.
Yep,
That's just a thing.
yep.
Um, but yeah, there's a it's like it's like Baskin Robbins. There's 100 different, or 1,001 different flavors, and every one of them is ice cream. But
You
you
just
may
got
not
to
be a.
find the one that
You
fits
just got
you.
to find the one that fits you. Yeah. Um, Man, I thought this was a really good episode. We're about an hour and 7 minutes in. It doesn't feel like it. I enjoy talking with you in general, and I enjoy doing this. So, man, time flies when you're having fun.
It really does.
Um,
Have me on again.
Absolutely. I do like that. I would
Let's put
love
some heat
to.
on me in the next episode. Let's make some people
uh,
mad.
oh well, we may be able to get that. We may be able to get that going. I love the interaction that we had with the crowd. I love the flow, how everything just kind of flowed into the next question. And with ADHD, man, that's kind of that's how it goes. And when it's
Yep,
good, it's good.
yep. Thank you for having me, man, for real.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being one of the first guys that was like, "Hey, put me on blast. I wanna do it."
Yeah, bro.
Because I said in my first episode 0, that I didn't really. This is something that I wanted to do for a long time. I just didn't. I didn't have the kick in the butt. I didn't have the know how to do it. But when those pieces of the puzzle fell in place, um, I was just like, "Fuck it, let's go."
Yep.
So
I would like to do my own podcast, but like you said, I just like I'm at the stage where I just don't know, like you was. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
give me some
yeah,
time, and Main Event Bradley's podcast might come out one day.
heck yeah, dude. I would love to see it. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe it
you'll
could be
be a
like a
guest.
hell yeah, very exciting. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and we need to hold on. I got a late question. Daniel Lopez. We need to realize we are not gifts to wrestling. Wrestling is a gift to us. Yes. I wish. I wish. I'm in on that. Yep. 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 Clown's there too. So yeah, wrestling is a gift. It's like Bill and Ted. God gave rock and roll to us.
That's right.
Wrestling is it's food for a lot of people's souls and a lot of people's hearts. I strongly believe, because growing up watching wrestling, wrestling is all about making moments, and it's all about moments strung together in general. I've got a lot of family members that have passed away that I have strong memories of watching wrestling with them, and through wrestling, they live on. You know what I'm saying? And me being a wrestler, they there's a part of them that still lives on.
Yep.
Because those moments that I can recall as a kid, just wrestling, the whole falling in love with wrestling, it just, that was a part of it. And so I hope, and I'm pretty sure both of us have in each of our careers. I'm pretty sure we've made moments for a lot of people.
I think we have.
And
I think so.
and at the end of the day, that's I know this is like a weird existential kind of conversation, but I think at the end of the day, once we look back at our careers, uh, you know, if we can say that we've done that, we made it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not necessarily like paying your bills with wrestling or with that coveted WWE contract, but at the end of the day, when you look back at our careers, we can actually say, hey, we did the
We
damn
did
thing.
the damn thing. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Main Event Bradley with ADHD and your host, Bruce. Thank you so much for those that tuned in. Thank you to all the ones that commented and asked questions. Sorry, I would get distracted by the conversation and I didn't get to all of them. They are still on there, so uh, maybe one day I'll do an episode where I just answer old questions. That might be no
That would be fun.
it would be fun. I was just thinking like maybe that wouldn't be fun, but I think it would.
I think it could be.
Just going through there and answering like weeks old questions from people.
Read the date that it was sent in on. Okay,
Yes,
sent me this.
yes.
That'd be. I think that would be good entertainment.
Oh yeah. Hey guys, wrestling with ADHD and Bruce here. This question is from episode 3, and we're on episode 62. My ADHD and my co-host ADHD got to us, and we didn't get to answer him. So here they are. But all right, 1 hour and 12 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and say goodnight to y'all. Bradley, thanks for coming on and invading the ADHD pod. And after this episode, I will actually be out of contract, so I don't no longer have to call the podcast Main Event Bradley with ADHD and Bruce. I'm not upset about that, and I'm not upset that I had to change the name. But again, I have to give Main Event Bradley his props. He does have a Wrestle Center named after him, the WrestlePlex, right?
The Main Event Bradley Metroplex, baby, in
The Main
Tuckerman,
Event Bradley
Arkansas.
Metroplex. That's wild. That's wild.
That started as a joke too, but we could talk about that on the next episode.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. We're out of here.